What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and I've just watched yet another video that doesn't make me feel great inside. And so the best thing I could do is spread it around and be that crab in the bucket and pull you all down with me, because yesterday was May the 4th, and many of you didn't really care about that. I get it. There are bigger issues going on in the world. Plus, there wasn't really any super huge mega announcements in terms of Star Wars. Sure, they announced that, there'd be a new director for a film, but we don't really know anything about any new films. Everything's kind of in a holding pattern right now. We already knew what we needed to know about The Mandalorian. Clone Wars ended well. People really liked the finale of Clone Wars. That's good news. And look, for as much as I like to roast the bad in Star Wars, there are still a few peanuts in the poo, so to speak. The Mandalorian's very good. Clone Wars is very good. The books at times can be good. And there's a lot of people that love Star Wars, almost as many as are strongly upset by the current Star Wars. But I think we can all agree that what happened here is absolutely bad. Absolutely frustrating. I'm going to show you, and this is in Alberta. Sorry, my Canadian buddies. I'm not, but your police are not my buddies, guy. We see what is clearly a promotion at a restaurant bar called the Coco Vanilla Galactic Cantina. You can see they've got Marvel and Star Wars and Disney on the sign. Now, I don't know if that's officially licensed or not, but that is neither here nor there. And a female employee came in on May the 4th because it's May the 4th. And, well, let's see, to do a promotion, obviously, right? Let's see how this ends. You see the girl's just walking around, with her blaster, clearly in Star Wars regalia. And then moments later, there are officers with weapons pointed at her. Are you joking? Look at this hero right here. He's drawn down on a stormtrooper with a toy blaster. What kind of training do your officers have? And then we'll move ahead. You can see this guy's got the pump action out for a girl in a Star Wars Stormtrooper cosplay on May the 4th at a bar themed in Star Wars. How stupid are you? The girl was eventually, obviously, bawling her eyes out, because why wouldn't she be? You've got these officers push her down to the ground. I mean, what is going on here? It's absolutely ridiculous. And let's read about it. Star Wars Day promotion goes awry after LPS detain employee in Stormtrooper costume. Now, the reason I started with the actual video is it's almost impossible to believe, isn't it? It's impossible to believe that somebody would be this dumb, that people would draw down on a costumed stormtrooper, that several people would call law enforcement on this person. In Alberta, Lethbridge, Alberta, May the 4th is widely known among sci-fi fans as Star Wars Day, and thus a local business themed around the franchise wanted to put on a promotion to celebrate it. Coco Vanilla Galactic Cantina owner Bradley Whalen told LNN that it quickly went off the rails and put one of his employees in serious danger. We had music playing in the parking lot. We had one of our staff dress up as a stormtrooper, kind of waving to people walking up and down the road. We had people stopping by and taking pictures with her. We put a couple of promotions in the restaurant to entice people to come in. You fool. You fool. The female employee arrived around 10 a.m. on Monday, May 4th, and went in full costume around 20 minutes later. He believes that some members of the public must have seen her brandishing her plastic blaster, believing it was real, and phoned the authorities. Inspector Jason Walper says they got 2 911 calls regarding this near the business on 13th and North. At approximately 11:20, 3 cruisers arrived and a truck followed shortly after. Is this necessary? I mean, is that necessary to have her down? I mean, how do you not just show up on the scene and say, oh, it's a stormtrooper, obviously? At what point did you think pointing your weapons at this crying female and brandishing, your weapons at her, taking her down to the ground, detaining her, at what point did all of this make sense to you, officers? Now, look, I have been on the record, and I will continue to be on the record, that I strongly support those in both the armed forces and the police forces. That doesn't mean that there aren't a few idiots in there. And I guarantee you, any one of them would admit it too. In the video, Waylon came outside after hearing the officers shouting at the employee. He can be heard yelling at them that the girl is only in costume and has a toy. The officers tell him to get back in the building. The officers had their weapons drawn, pointed at my employee. They were yelling at her to put her item down, so she threw the plastic thing on the ground. At that point in time, when I came out, she was on her knees down on the ground. The police had already checked and seen that it was plastic, so they already knew there wasn't an issue or risk there. The video shows the girl did drop and did what they said to do so. Walper offered a different account of their initial encounter. At the time he spoke to the media about the incident, he said he had not fully reviewed all the details, but claims the person didn't comply with the verbal directions. Is it possible she thought you were joking? Is it possible that she didn't hear you inside of a gigantic cosplay uniform? Is it possible that she was in shock, thinking, why on earth would officers be here doing this? She got on her knees. Walper adds that the officers then, quote, pushed the individual down and put her in handcuffs. As a result of being pushed into the ground, the employee had bloodied her nose. Neither Waylon nor Walper could confirm if she had suffered any other injuries. The employee could be heard crying out on the video, and there were blood stains on the concrete. According to Waylon, it took an extra few moments for the employee to get down because of the costume. Shocking! Shocking. She kept yelling at them that she couldn't kneel down because of the stormtrooper costume. You can't even sit in it. Like, it's impossible to sit down. She kept telling them that she couldn't get down is what she explained to me after we talked to her. It wasn't a matter of her not wanting to cooperate, Waylon continued. She dropped the toy when they told her to, forcing her to get down on the ground after they determined that she wasn't a risk and that it wasn't even real. It was a plastic Star Wars blaster. Waylon claims that there was absolutely no effort on the part of the officers to de-escalate the situation or to speak to him or the employee calmly before taking action. Walper says that he understands that this matter likely boiled down to misunderstanding, but they have to take these type of calls for service seriously. Anytime our officers are responding to something that's very spontaneous, there's possible. I don't care. Were they blind? I mean, first of all, I have a hard time believing someone doesn't know what a stormtrooper is, even if you don't watch Star Wars. Second of all, I have a really, really hard time believing that 3 or 4 officers had no idea. I have an even harder time believing that any of these fools thought it was real and any type of threat. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is like those morons in my state who went to like bother some mom because her kid was having a play date. What? I mean, give me a break. Send these clowns back to training. And guess what? I don't think they should be able to carry anything anymore for a very long time. Because if this is how they act when somebody's dressed up as a stormtrooper, how are they going to act if the situation is somewhat real and still needs to be de-escalated? This is how they act when somebody dressed in a plastic stormtrooper uniform on Star Wars Day at us. How do you ignore all this context? It's not like they were in the grocery store. And even then, it's almost impossible to believe that you could be this stupid. But then again, every day I'm surprised by just how stupid people can be. And you know what? It's great for the channel. I'll tell you this. If there's any damage done to this girl's Star Wars suit, or if she needs any money for the damage done to her nose or anything like that, if she wants to get in contact with me, I will happily pay for it. This is absolutely ridiculous. Not only should these idiot officers be paying for it, but how do you... Oh my God, it hurts my brain. It's just like, what are you thinking? 3 officers, none of them could figure out what was going on here. And you probably scarred this girl for life. Keep those streets safe, boys. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.